I am pleased to introduce to you our workshop facilitator. Her name is Tiffany Meyers. She is a caregiver, a supporter, an advocate, and transformation life coach turned caregiver coach. She provides real solutions and a direct ear to the caregiver, creating open, honest, and immediately usable tools, techniques, and resources that the caregiver can apply to be well as they care for their loved ones. She's also an author, and you can find her books linked in the expo hall. Taking care of those who care for us is a big part of our journey to wellness and wholeness, and she is going to help us do that. So please welcome in the comments, Miss Tiffany Meyers.
Hello, 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 everyone. How are you all doing on today? Listen, my body, my friend, my body, my friend. This is something a lot of times caregivers don't realize we need to do. Caregivers, a lot of times, want to take care of everyone else. Well, caregiver, even patient or loved one of a caregiver, understand this is for you as well. Because a lot of times I wanted to talk about some of the clinical stuff, just a little bit of it, because when I looked up an article in Psychology Today, this was back in 2015, what I saw was there are 13 essential things that we get from friendship. Friendship means that you're trustworthy. Friendship means that you are honest. Friendship means that there is dependability there. There is an experience and there is an empathy there that someone is going through that friend shows, right? So one of the things that I wanted to do was, okay, let's look at, are we being a good friend to ourselves? Yes, caregiver, I'm asking you, are you being a good friend to yourself? Are you? Are you dependable are you dependable for you? Are you looking at yourself sometimes saying, you know what, I need to take a break? Are you, because these are characteristics of being a friend, right? And sometimes we have to be our own advocate. We advocate for the people we love. We advocate for the person that we're caring for. We advocate at the doctor's office. We advocate whenever there's a crisis going on. We advocate whenever there is a new medication. We advocate whenever it's respite care or whenever there is, a crisis. But how many times do we advocate for ourselves? It's time that we begin to be good friends to ourselves. So whenever Allison brought this topic up and she said, my body, my friend, my body, my friend, I was thinking, okay, what am I going to talk about? How is this workshop going to, round itself out talking about caregivers? Because caregivers, yes, we're essential, but how many times are we caring for us so much that we're dependable to our own self and letting others know I need some help? How many times are we fun to be around? A lot of times we're caregiving, and the crazy thing about it is we forget to laugh. We love for our friends to come around, and a lot of times a caregiver is isolated. So instead of being so isolated, we have to identify who our community is. Once we identify who our community is, let them come around so that they can give us laughter. Laughter does so much. Being a caregiver as well, we have to laugh. Let me just we're supportive. But are we supporting ourselves and making sure that we get the care that we need? A lot of times we don't. Me being a caregiver, I'm just going to be really transparent here. Me being a caregiver, I forgot to care for myself. I didn't advocate for my care. I didn't advocate for what was going on in my mind. We see the prayer request, and it is not, don't be ashamed of that. As a matter of fact, do that more often. Tell somebody, listen, I need some prayer today. Tell somebody, listen, I need for you to help me out today. Identify your community. Be your best friend. Be your biggest advocate too. And being your biggest advocate means that sometimes you just got to take time out for you, step back and say, hey, I need some support. And because we are faith-based and because we are looking at the Bible, let me give you some references for the Bible, because we've talked about already how the Bible, how looking at God, how our faith also not only helps us, it lifts us. But let's look at what God says about being a friend. Listen, I'm going to be one of the first people to tell you, I'll be your friend all day, and I'll be honest with you. That's one thing about me as far as being a coach and me being who I am. God created me this way, and God created me to remind people. And sometimes it may rub you a little bit, but I'm rubbing you like this because I'm trying to help you. And because God rubbed me this way. See, I wasn't taking care of myself, and it caused depression, it caused anxiety. See, a lot of people won't tell you that because they want to seem strong. No, caregiving, you can't be strong all the time for everybody else and you're not being strong for yourself. But let's see what the Bible says. The Bible says in Proverbs 27:6, let me establish how I am coming as a friend today. Then that's what the Bible says. That's what the Bible says in Proverbs 27:6. I want y'all to read that. But also, what does First Thessalonians 5:11 say? Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up. Sometimes we got to have somebody else to build us up as a caregiver. We have to have someone else to build us up. We have to have someone else to lift us up under our arms. We have to have someone else who's going to be there for us, because so many times we feel depleted, right? So many times we feel like nobody is here for me, and I'm doing all I can just to make it through this moment. I'm doing all I can just to care for my mother who has Alzheimer's, or my father who has Alzheimer's or has dementia. I'm trying to do everything that I can for my child who may have autism, or my child who may be disabled and they've been this way. I just need somebody to be there. I just need somebody to help me out. I need a friend today. I need somebody that's going to stick closer than a brother or a sister. I need somebody that's going to, I'm not even going to have to call them. They're going to call me, or they're going to show up. They're going to knock on my door and say, hey, I'm here for you today. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to go in the back room and get some rest. I'm going to wash your dishes. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to run errands for you. And guess what? It's time for caregiver. Caregiver, let me say this loud and clear for you. It's time for you to let somebody else take part of your load. It's time for you to let someone else take part of your load. It's fine. It's time that we let people in. It's time that we let our friends be our friends. But in letting others be our friend, we have to understand what a friend is. A friend is somebody that you can trust with your loved one while you're not there. A friend is someone that you can trust and go to sleep and take a nap and get some rest. Take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and just be. A friend is a good listener where you can say exactly what's on your mind. Good, bad, and indifferent. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to say anything. They're just going to listen. And then sometimes you may even get the best, biggest hug out of it that you never realized you even needed. Sometimes they're going to say, because they heard some of the things that you say or said, they're going to offer you some more help, or they're going to give you a resource. Being your best friend in the situation that you're in the moment that you're in, also makes you realize sometimes being your best friend, understanding that I trust that I need help right now, means saying something to the physician so that they can give you a resource that you didn't know that they had access to. Yeah, it's like that. It is so much like that. I see Stephanie said you should be empowered to advocate for themselves. Exactly. Share the load. A true friend can be there for you too. Exactly. Let me tell you experience with my friends. My friends would not let me, they constantly would say, Tiffany, what do you need? What can I help you with? And let's understand that sometimes our friend may not be our family. Our friend may be community that is around us. We never know. Sometimes our friends turn out to be the nurses. They turn out to be the doctors. They turn out to be the counselors. They turn out to be the staff. They turn out to be somebody that we're working with in a facility. They turn out to be some of the most unlikely people that we would have ever connected with. But sometimes we build up walls because we feel like, I'm in this by myself. You're not. You are not. You know why you aren't? You are on a summit right now, on today, that is not only addressing the needs of those with chronic illnesses, but also incorporates caregivers. And there is a plethora of support out here. Sometimes, some days, you just need to hear, I am not in this alone. Sometimes that's what you need to hear. And let's talk about this. So if we look at Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. Understand, caregiver, you are a friend at heart. You are a friend in action. You are a friend indeed, because everything that you do is a servant attitude, is a servant's prayer, is a servant's action for someone else. Whether you're a loved one to them, whether you're a friend to them, understand you are a friend. Now it's time for you, not only you to be a best friend to yourself, but to also embrace those who want to be your friend, who wants to love on you, who wants to help you, who just wants to sometimes see you rest a little bit. Understand, caregiver, someone is here for you. And I pray, my prayer today is, because I know that there are some caregivers out there struggling, my prayer for you today is that someone shows up and they give you the support like that of David and Jonathan. That they give you the support like the David and the Jonathan in the Bible. David and Jonathan were knit together in their souls because one loved the other so much. It was like they loved him. He loved himself. I pray that you get someone that loves you so much that they help you like they would want themselves to be helped, that they're there for you, that they know when there's a need, that they know whenever you need a boost, they know when you need a pick me up, they know that whenever you just come around and you just say, hey, I'm going to help you today, hey, I'm going to be there for you today, hey, I'm doing this for you, not because I expect anything in return, not because I'm looking for you to do it for me, but I'm just doing it because I know that giving you this moment, giving you a break. Sometimes it may even be just, I just need to bring you a drink of water. It could be your favorite drink. You might love Pepsi, you might love Coke. I don't know. But it may be just bringing you your favorite drink. Some people, I know this, a girlfriend of mine, she loves Pure Leaf iced tea and Chick-fil-A. She loves it. I could get her that, and that's just like the cat's meow. It's one of the best things in the world. And that's all she wants. So sometimes caregivers, we just need that person. And even in your situation, being a friend and being there for your loved ones, sometimes, listen, humor is an amazing and a beautiful thing. Laughter will sometimes remove all types of stress. It'll sometimes make you forget what you were fretting over, you know? And I know some people will say, are you talking about that? Yes. When me and my husband were going through some of the toughest times while he was sick, what we had to find laughter in was, sometimes being a caregiver requires you to wipe your loved ones behind. That's not fun. That's not a beautiful thing, but find humor in it. Find humor in it. If you can laugh at some of those moments, it makes you appreciate. It really makes you appreciate. I'll tell you all this story. Not only was it him, because he was like, at one time, he was so weak at one time. He was like, I can't even use the bathroom by myself. I was like, you can't. And I was like, who would have thought that we would have been in this? And I'm like, you're not even old. We had to laugh at that moment. We had to laugh at that moment. I have a friend who is being cared for by his wife. And the thing about it was, he was so ashamed one day that he started passing gas. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that around y'all. I can't believe I did that around y'all. And I said, you mean to tell me you're going to hold that gas in and you're going to kill yourself because you don't want to offend us? You better offend this air outside, because there's way more space out here than it is inside. Listen. And he was like, oh my gosh. And then he was like, the smell, listen, smells dissipate. The sound dissipates. It's a natural reaction. Why can't we laugh about stuff like that? Sometimes we take things so seriously, and it's unnecessary. Make light of some things in life. Listen, y'all don't think God and the angels might be laughing at us sometimes? I believe they are. I believe they are. Listen, I will take questions. I will take, if we've been praying, but if somebody has something that they need to ask, let me know. This is a workshop on caregivers. Listen, caregiver. Listen, caregiver. Whenever things get so hard, whenever things get to a place where you feel like you're unable to, like you can't, know that not only you can, know that you are everything and doing everything that you can. And I don't say this from a place of not understanding. I'll tell you part of my story. Yes, laughter is the best medicine. Listen, when I was caring for my husband, there were some days we had to go back and forth. We had to go 196 miles from our house to the other hospital where he had to be taken care of. And this was from October until March. My husband had to have a double lung transplant. However, before that, he was extremely sick. He was sick to the point where he had to carry around one of those big oxygen tanks. Matter of fact, whenever it got bad, we had to have two of those big oxygen tanks so that he wouldn't, one, run out of air, because he was on 6 to 8 plus liters whenever he was just walking around, and it could be less than 20 steps and he was out of breath, and he was not able to help pack. He was not able even to help wash himself at that particular time. He had gotten so bad. But there were days where I didn't know how we were going to drive from Columbia to Charleston. And the reason I didn't know that was because I was so tired. There were days in which I didn't know how I was going to take that 28, 32-pound compressor, I mean, concentrator downstairs. That was so that he could breathe while he was at home, so that he didn't have to use all those tanks. But the thing about it is, there were some days I didn't know how I was going to make it. But if anything is a testimony today, not only are my words, but you seen me where I am right now. I did not lose my mind. I did not lose him. I did not lose anything. I gained so much. But understand, not only can you make it, not only are you going to get beyond this, not only will you be better for it, understand you have everything inside you that it takes for you to make it. And even with you having everything inside you, sometimes you need to get some of those things out. Some of that frustration, you need that friend to talk to. Sometimes you need to journal. Sometimes you just need to walk outside. Sometimes you need to tell your loved one, I need a minute. I need to either go to the bathroom or I need to walk outside. Sometimes you just need to walk away from the situation. I want to be honest with you, because sometimes you just need a break. Sometimes you just need a break. And it's okay. It is okay. Again, do we have any questions?
Tiffany, you have been absolutely amazing and given us so much good insight on what it's like, the role of the caregiver, and just how many different challenges that are faced, and some of the ways to navigate those in healthy ways. Um, One of the things that I would like to ask you, as we, of course, support caregivers as well as those that they're caring for, but just to help us see a little bit of the other side as a caregiver, you already shared with us about the passing gas, which is hilarious, that those things don't bother you as much as sometimes we think they do. What are some of the other things that you would want the one you're caring for to know?
One of the things that I want the one that we're caring for to know is sometimes in needing a break, sometimes we have to communicate. Hey, um, do are you okay with me sometimes not being okay? That was one of the things my husband and I had to talk about. He wanted me to be okay as much as I wanted him to be okay. And we hadn't spoken about that, but there were days he was like, "Baby, you need to take a break.
Hmm.
You need to step away. I need you. I'm going to be okay. Even if it means someone else needs to step in, it's okay to step away from your situation, because you need, not only do you need to step away so that you get better perspective, you need to step away because you don't want to be resentful. Because
Mm,
a lot of times what happens, this is two things. One, step away, but also understand, as a caregiver, we get resentful. Let me tell the truth about that.
hmm.
Understanding that resentment will happen because sometimes your livelihood is taken, your independence is taken, your ability to be able to come and go the way you please, the way you wanted to. Sometimes you lose friends, you lose colleagues. There is a sense of loss, and sometimes we have to be able to deal with that, but deal with it in a very, not just a patient way, but understand that all the emotions that you are feeling, they're valid.
Hmm.
And a lot of times, the third thing that we have to realize is sometimes it's a grieving process. And yes, you will be going through a grieving process in the middle of having your life turned upside down, topsy turvy, and having to care for someone else. And understand this: if you're if the person that you care for is grown and they have the capacity, even sometimes, even if it's a child, sometimes you just have to be able to let them understand in the capacity in which their mind can accept it, what you need to do. Because think about it like this. Think about if you're not handling those emotions in a healthy way, and you begin to speak in a very
Hmm.
demeaning way, or if you begin to lash out, understand that means that you need to walk away. You need to disconnect. You need to make sure, and this is why being a friend to yourself is so important, because what you have to do is deal with your emotions, feel it, but feel it when it's in here. Don't feel it after it gets out your mouth.
Yeah, that's good. That's so
feel it
good.
feel it when it's in your belly. Feel it when it's right here, and please feel it before, because when it get right here, it about to come out.
That's good advice. I
But
think that's good advice for everybody. That's good advice for the one
yes,
receiving care as well. Please communicate, express
yeah,
that. Sometimes we need a break. Sometimes we see that loved one needs a break, and
hmm,
we need to make sure that we keep the lines of communication open. We did
definitely.
have a question. How would you start that conversation with caregivers who don't readily accept help but are burning out? How do you start that
Mm.
conversation with them?
So I start the conversation.
Okay, how you started may be a little different than everybody, but
It's
go ahead and give
way
us your
different.
perspective.
It's it is way different how I would start a conversation. So know the person that you're dealing with, but also, so I'll tell you how I would deal with it right after I answer this. But really know the person that you're dealing with, because, and sometimes it's not, you're burnt out, right? Because that's how I'm going to start the conversation. I'm going to start the conversation is, why are you talking to me like that?
Mm,
What's going on? You did hear what you just said to me, right? Sometimes it's that mirror. Sometimes you
Mhm.
really have to give the person that mirror. And this is just being honest, because a lot of people, until they hear repeated what they said,
Mhm.
they're not going to accept it. Because a lot of times caregivers don't understand that they're burning out because they never hear what they're saying. Sadly, they're in this.
Mhm.
They're rapidly moving through life. They're rapidly moving through appointments. They're rapidly moving through everything that they're doing, and they're not hearing, so they're not feeling. Let me tell you what one thing that caregivers do. They're doing so much, so many times a day, and a lot of times they're not resting. They have not only built up a wall, they have built up a resistance to understand or
Mm.
to hear what's really going on. They're getting information, but they're not processing it. So
Right.
so what I would do is I would literally sit that person down and sit them down whenever they're not thinking so much. Sometimes they just need to sit down and sit down.
Mhm.
And once you sit them down, don't attack them, just start a conversation. And sometimes asking a person, "Hey, how you doing today?" Let that pause happen. And whenever they say they're okay, because first it's going to come the lie. The first lie is, "I'm good. I'm okay. I'm fine." That's the lie. Let's identify that. That's the lie. Because that's what I would say a lot of time. "I'm doing all right." No, 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 no. Okay, but how are you doing? What's going on? And what they're going to do, they're going to be resistant because they're going to hear you say, "Is something wrong with you?"
Mm.
That's the second time you ask. Now, the third time you ask, and lean in a little bit. "Hey, what's going on with you? How are you?" That's with empathy, with compassion, and give them grace. And sometimes you just need to say it out loud. "It's okay. I'm not going to judge you. I just want to know how you are doing."
Yeah.
And then go into the conversation of, "I think it's time you need a break. How can I help you?" Come to the table with a couple situations as far as solutions in mind. "Can I
That's
offer to stay with your loved one?
mhm.
Can I go to the store for you? Do you need some groceries? Can I help you clean up?" Sometimes you may even have a conversation and they need to wash dishes, and you just go in the kitchen and you know what? I got that. Let me get this for you. Let me get this for you.
That's so good. When you were talking about just sitting them down and asking, "How are you doing?" The reason I think sometimes that the lie comes out first
Mhm,
is because they haven't asked themselves how they're doing
mhm,
sometimes. They
mhm.
didn't have time to
Nope.
ask that question. And as the person receiving care, as the person with the diagnosis, we can relate to that. We
Mhm.
can relate to that. We're trying to remember, what time did we take the medication? Did we take the medication?
Right.
What time is the next thing? Ouch, that hurts. I have an appointment tomorrow. Where? How many do I have to be at? And so we have that same thing going on,
Mhm.
that sometimes we don't process. How are you today?
That's right.
And so that understanding and that perspective, that that loved one who is caring for us or supporting us may be experiencing that same thing,
That's
is
right.
so valuable. One thing that I always hear you say as well is, take 5 minutes.
Take 5.
And so for that caregiver who is doing this, like you said,
Mhm.
a good way to approach that might be to start with just 5 minutes. Maybe they're not ready to think about a week in Cancun,
Mm-mm. No.
but maybe they can find 5 minutes to sit down and sit down.
Mhm. Go
That's
sit
so
down
good.
somewhere. See, this is how I'm going to ask a question. My hey, so this is Tiffany. Everybody cannot deal with folks like me. But I'm straight. I'm really no chaser. It is in your face. What are you doing? Because you know what's going to happen. You know you're taking care of somebody. What's going to happen whenever you can't take care of anybody and they can't take care of you either? So you're going to
Mhm.
pass out. When's the last time you took your blood pressure? When's the last time you took your medication? When's the last time you went to the doctor? Why
Yeah.
aren't you taking care of yourself? Why do you feel like you can take care of everybody else, but you can't maintain who you are? And I think, Allison, you and I had this conversation. You have one body.
Yes.
This isn't a dress rehearsal. This is one body.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't trade it in. Now, my husband had a double lung transplant. We thank God for them lungs. But I promise you, they not out here giving out skin, lungs, hearts. They're not out here giving out this stuff all willy-nilly. And you mean to tell me you're not taking care of it? It's
Yeah.
different if you have a condition and you need to do something that maintains, or either you're, and this is my body, my friend. So the body we have, we need to treat like a friend. This
Right.
is the vessel that God has given us. So what are we doing with it? But that's me.
Amen.
That's how I'm gonna come to the person.
And that's what we're here to talk about. And that is a
That's it.
perfect way to sum it all up. We have to treat our bodies as the friends that God designed them to
That's
be.
it.
Tiffany, you are always a joy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being straight, no chaser. We love you just like you are. Do not change. And I mean it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for giving us the perspective of the other side that's going to help us care for ourselves and those who care for us that much better.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Thank you.